No, it doesn't. And when we do that, we're going to split up into groups, whether it be groups of 3, groups of 5, whatever you guys feel. We'll have you guys come up, pick whatever is interesting to you, whatever you guys know about. And after we do that, we'll have ideas being spread out, solutions on how to basically stop all of these from happening without violence. That's our main topic, no violence whatsoever. So after we do that, we're going to come back in this form, and then we're going to present each group, and then we're going to close the circle. But first, we're going to start with the icebreaker, so everyone's comfortable, you know what I mean?
Alright, so the game is called People to People. There will be some light touching involved, not too much. For example, there will be music playing, and we're going to mingle around, go in different directions, and I'll say elbow to elbow, or toe to toe, even back to back. And then every so often I'm going to ask you guys a question. And then I want you guys to introduce yourself first, get to know one another a little bit, and...
That's when we say people to people.
Yeah.
People to people, you guys find a partner.
Then that's when I ask the question. Yeah. But before then, we're just...
So you guys ready to hop into it?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah?
Alright.
Anybody stand up? I know. You want to come join us, man? Alright, so just the music started playing, and then when the music starts, everybody just move around, different directions. Try not to stay with your friends, you know, that's the point. Stop moving around.
Alright, elbow to elbow. Get a partner. Alright. Continue. Walk. Walk. Oh, already. Toe to toe. Back to back. Alright, people. Yeah, let's all. Yeah, we're gonna do some body parts.
No, I got it about one.
Alright, people to people. Find a partner? Okay. Okay, so what is your favorite place in the world to feel at peace?
Ask again. What was the question?
What is your favorite place in the world to feel peace of mind? That's like shower. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that in Mexico. My mom like rooftop. No, I was gonna say shower or Alright, next time, you guys all got to know each other a little bit. Okay, mingle. Alright, let's all start to walk again. Move around, comfortable. Alright, pinky to pinky. Alright, toe to toe. Go. Alright, easy. Alright, start walking. Back to back.
I'm the biggest hypocrite in 2015. Once I finish this week,
Toe to toe.
my face is what I mean. And feeling this way since I was 16. Came to my senses. I'm never like this anyway. Fuck your friendship. I'm African American. I'm African American. Heritage of a song. My hair is nappy, my dick is big.
Alright, people to people.
Hate me, don't you?
Introduce yourself again. And tell them about someone who's ever helped you out when you were in trouble. Tell them about someone who's ever helped you out when you were in trouble.
Yeah, I'm thinking of my girl Latino. And then like my homie that's like run away or something.
Don't work really.
One person really happy. Oh no, my mom. You go back to like 12. Every time my mom takes me out, I go back.
Alright, that's it guys, time's up. Start to mingle around again. Wrist to wrist. Alright, knee to knee. Back to back. Toe to toe. Alright, here we go. Heel to heel. Knee to knee. Wrist to wrist. Elbow to elbow. Back to back. Alright, start to make that. Alright, people to people. Someone new. Okay, let's all name one thing that you can change to magically make your life happier.
What would you change?
I just don't know.
That's worth. I would change anything. Same thing with my dad, but I would probably have him in my life. Do you see him though? I can imagine how. What grade? You're 8? What school you go to? How was that to 8th grade?
Alright, but that should be time. Let's start to mingle around again. Alright, elbow to elbow. Pinky to pinky. Fist to fist. Alright, toe to toe. Alright, let's mingle again. Start to walk around. Alright, people to people. So what do you see yourself doing 5 years in the future?
You see yourself doing that?
I see myself finishing college.
Be YouTuber and be game founder.
And like campaigning.
Be YouTuber.
Okay.
I like YouTube. You watch YouTube? You watch YouTube?
Want me like game?
Like, I've been to like
Okay. You have like we have like ideas.
I still think about it.
First, we have black on brown violence. A little example for that in high schools, you know, African American kids, Latino kids, whether getting into arguments or fights through like racial slurs, which is stupid. And then we have access to guns, being able to obtain like firearms or any type of weapons through, say, like a third party or your friend, you know what I mean, illegally, and that's not okay, you know what I'm saying?
We have police violence. I'm sure you guys have all heard stories and news stuff about that. Shooting unarmed people of color, over escalating situations, discrimination, and harassing youth of color in particular. We also have bullshit and ratchet drama, which I know we're all familiar with. So spreading rumors, petty arguments.
So, Latino on Latino violence, that's going a lot. It's going on a lot in the streets, whether it be different colors, whatever like territory says, you know, or Latinos even robbing other people, you know, people of their own color. And that's not okay. And we also have ice raids. You know, families have been broken up. People have been in deep depression because of this. We're wasting so much money to get people out. And then we also have violence against women, domestic violence. And that's also been a main topic within our generations because it's not really well noticed, you know what I mean? And yeah, we're going to talk about those. And then our main question would be, what can young people of color do to stop this kind of violence in ways that ensures justice? You know what I mean? So we're going to form into groups, talk about these topics, and basically you guys are going to raise your hands, whichever one you guys want to talk about or go to, or what you guys know about or interested in. So I'm going to have her set that up.
Alright, so let's think about whichever one you'd like to go to, and then we'll start to set up. Does everybody need their mind? Does everybody kind of know what they'd like to do? So let's start off with black and brown violence. Who'd like to? Alright.
There you go, we got two.
Alright, you guys could go, maybe sit down over there, just let
All three.
and then access to guns. Access to guns. Anybody? Alright, you can skip that one for now, go back to it. Police brutality or violence. Alright, why don't you set up over there then? Or you two. Bullshit, ratchet drama.
Anybody
Takers. Oh, I'm surprised.
This is like
I know.
That's the biggest one.
Latino violence. Guys.
There you go, there you go.
Must be your Latin. Okay, cool. Ice raids.
Anybody interested? There you go. There you go. Got one.
Don't suck.
And then violence
Okay.
against women, domestic abuse. Cool.
There you go.
Hey.
Yeah, you guys want to take a seat over here?
I'm so surprised you guys are participating.
Be able to know what I can do within my community to help and support my community as well.
That's the kind of young people we need. You better take it down slow, man.
That's definitely the same feeling because it's like it's so easy to post on Instagram or anything and just like it. But my brother, he was shot and killed by West Oak and Barkley. Yeah.
Who's your brother?
His name was Charlene Tyndall. So I'm sitting there right next to it like it's never serious until it hits home, but it was always serious for me.
Don't be afraid to ask your parents.
Don't be afraid to scream.
Shut up, best friend. You're right.
Won't kill me, girl.
You guys ever hear like you guys got any like concerts of like gangsta that are like involved in street like street life and like ever break it down to you or even discuss?
We both are struggling with both. So does the black community.
Todo
But instead of uniting across the board,
porque si no es nada enseñable en la casa, como en la calle, cómo vas a representar la última. Si quieres ser de la calle, ser de la calle, si no, cualquier cosa. Y a otra persona no lo pueden valer en la vida, que crean en la vida.
Sit right here?
You don't see it, but I'm like, I have my great grandfather, my dad's grandfather.
How do we organize that? Like, say for protests, we can, that's easy.
As a much younger generation, I want you to speak up. Knowing, right, is sheer ignorance, right? Like, I know there's hella stereotypes, even within Latinos, right? Latinos, when you look at our census, we don't have a category no more. You look at 2010, there's no more Latino, because Latino is considered all races. It's Asian, it's black, it's white. Right, and so the minute we start realizing that and realizing that our shared history is everything together, like, and eventually it became its own republic where everybody is there for free.
Good conversations.
Mental abuse or even threats of.
But he loves me.
No, that's not love.
That's what she was saying. That she was
You
saying.
need to reevaluate your definition. You know?
Okay. Well, to tell a story, she's getting a divorce, but she's going through therapy because she suffered PTSD, traumatized her life. So I'm just wondering, this is real, right?
Yeah.
And then, he loved me.
And see, sometimes when people like that say like he loves me, it's because that's what they grew up seeing, and that's the definition of love. So this issue goes deeper into like our parents, And also their him. parents, when he apologizes, when he asks for forgiveness, and he says, "I'm never going to do it again. I love you. I want to be with you. I don't want to be with nobody else."
Yeah.
He's manipulating you. You have to be stronger than that. You have to learn. You just can't keep continuing, because then something detrimental could happen. You don't want to lose your life over this, over someone who so-called loved you. It's serious.
There's different forms of therapy, like me venting to one of my homegirls, like that's therapy, so I think just having like options, like not just maybe not speaking to somebody like a professional, but like maybe a limpia, like maybe like a sister, a book, yeah, like maybe some facials and like some wine or some
Right.
We're at that age.
yeah, when it over.
Right. What's your group?
Latino on Latino violence.
Brown on brown, yeah.
And then we have Latino Club, and they're separate. They don't work together.
You guys have any like solutions, like any little whatever, like it doesn't like there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. No.
Tal vez una idea mía de cómo solucionarlo es de tratar de unir a los jóvenes, que hagan algo y que se junten para no que digan, solo porque ese es de un barrio, ese es del otro. Eso no significa que te vas a matar con ellos, ¿sabes? No tienen que hacer algo juntos para que no se maten entre ellos. Trabajar juntos.
Ya después estando grande, ¿me entendés? Porque en el caso de uno, ¿me entendés? Cuando uno le enseña las cosas desde pequeño, loco, ¿me entendés? Y ya después es difícil dejarlo ya grande, ¿me entendés? Ya cuando ya has crecido con esa onda que te yo pienso que, loco, que pusieran más oportunidades para los chavalos que no vivieran por el gobierno, loco, yo creo que viene a hacer a veces distraer la mente, también había mucho de desarrollar de tu mentalidad, pues, ¿me entendés? Pero como te digo, ya después ya grande ya no hay solución. Bueno, yo pienso que no hay solución,
No sea solución.
La violencia siempre va a haber, pero
para cualquier cosa hay
disminuirla.
Para cualquier cosa, sí. Say that you messed up, like last week. You can't change the beginning. You gotta start from where you're at and change the ending where you want to end up.
Who's this group?
This is police violence.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so I think having
So we're gonna get back into groups soon now, and then
Tell you what you need to know. Yeah, they'll tell you and one thing you have me sitting down, it's like our conversations would be before you learn about the birds and the bees. Your parents are telling you how to interact if the police come stop you. Watch out for that. And I'm sitting down like, damn, my mama taught me about how to interact with the police before she taught me how to have success. Why is that a conversation more than that? So that's also another thing.
stigmatizing the violence that we have, right?
Okay, here are the notes, so you guys figure out how you want to present back to everyone here. We're all together, one or two.
Alright, so as you can see, we have two colors. This was the initial conversation we were having around why there is violence between black and brown people. And then specifically looking at like our own past experiences. And then the orange part is basically what it is that could be done on a young person perspective as far as being able to solve for this problem. Want to kick it off, partner?
Sure. One thing that we came to understand was that both the youth from both communities is misguided and also misunderstood. and that's just like a big umbrella, and there's bigger problems at the end, at the bottom. But we've both been oppressed, and there's both been discrimination, and even with stereotypes that we even have about each other, and it's just misunderstanding somebody else, not actually going and taking that next step to understand each other's struggle, you know.
And with that said, we established that we have like common histories, you know, like Latinos like to act like we are our own thing, our own separate thing. And the truth is that Latinos make up all the races together. We're Asian, we're white, we're Native, we're black, like the slave trade hit all parts of America. It wasn't just the US. And then also with black people, like the mixture of African American, it wasn't something that was just like, oh, well, nobody's gonna mix with black people. It's like, no, they were at the time before it was claimed territory through the rest of the Americas. You still have free natives, and they were mixing and mingling because everybody's trying to get free because that was a free nation at the time. So it's like those histories in themselves were something that were repeated across borders before borders were even established. And the truth is that these histories about how our past are intertwined with each other are being misrepresented or not told and just shoved under the rug, right? We don't talk about them. We don't talk about how Latinos are negritos, how we have curly hair, how we have the same features, how we all have different ways of talking, and we practice like Santeria, and how that's all mixed together. Or like, if you look at La Bamba, like the original version of La Bamba was originally sang by African slaves in Veracruz, right? Some people don't know that. And it's just like, people are like, oh, that's a Latino thing. And it's like, no, it's a us thing. It's a people of color thing. And establishing that we have a shared history and that will help us see each other as people and not as other, right? Like, I'm Latino, he's black. And it's like, nah, we're brother and sister, Like, this is my brother. Like, we have a shared history. Like, I see him as a person, he sees me as a person.
Correct.
And that's what matters. I'm never going to want to point a gun at him and vice versa, right? And I think that's something that young people need to understand when it comes to solving for this problem of black on brown violence and vice versa. So some things that we talked about being able to solve for this issue is like first being able to tell our histories, going back as far as we can. Some of us can only tell our grandparents' histories, maybe just our parents' histories if we know both parents, right? So it's like a lot of our histories are being lost just in the most like close in proximity like time, right? We can maybe go back to 60 years, but we can't go back 100. I could go back to 1846. How many other people could do that, right? And I'm like a really rare case because I love history. But being able to ignite that in young people and being able to have shared spaces where it's like, it's not just BSU and Latino club in high schools, but it's like, yeah, we have those too, and those are important spaces to have for us to heal, but also having a space where we can heal together and talk about our histories. You want to talk about some of our solutions?
Yeah, we'll talk about our solution. One thing I wanted to touch on real quick though was just like the fact that we lose our history. I know growing up and just being in history class, how you learn about, I know the same African American figures over and over again. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and then we stop. And it's just like, I don't know if that was the same thing for you, but
pretty much.
Just like that
baseline
things, you don't go too deep into it. Let's get our 28 days in and let's keep it pushing.
We can name like 20 white heroes and maybe a handful of black and brown combined.
Which is crazy. And I feel like the first step to making sure there's justice and ensuring peace between the black and brown community is the fact that you gotta love yourself first and like really understand yourself, because I can't be a mad, angry person and you expect me to come at you respectfully, So I think love yourself and love other people and just be kind to one another. Be kind and try to be understanding, as understanding as you can.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, like hurt people, right? If you hurting inside, you don't love yourself, you hate yourself, you want to die, whatever, you're not going to care about the next person that's walking down the street. So it's like part of sharing our history is first understanding who we are, where we're from, and embracing that. Once we do that, we could then pass that on to the next person and the next and the next, which is why we even have a room full of people like y'all who are willing to do something about your life, right? Like, it means something.
And on top of that, you're not alone. You're not the only one that want to hurt yourself or you feel sad or you're going through something. There's actually people right there on the forefront with you going through that same exact thing. And that also goes with, being able to come together. And I feel like events in the community bringing us together would be a amazing place to, get over that.
Yeah, so like potlucks, club meetings, all that good stuff, places
Just
for us
get it
to
happen.
heal and share together, and acknowledging each other as people.
All right.
So we got police violence. Some ways that we can stop it: protesting, organized protests though, so we can get the whole community knowing what we're gonna do, have backup plans in case anything does go wrong, and we can spread the word. if we have it before the protest. Some other stuff. Get rid of the unresponsible laws. So as what's your name again, my man? Caden. He said there's a law where it's like you shoot one bullet, you have to empty out the whole clip. So that's a unresponsible law. Like it's a stupid law that shouldn't even happen. And then how we could get away with it is fight law with laws. So you can't take a law away, but you could build a law upon that law. So get politics, get people of color to help our communities fight the government, get us to know what's going down in the government and how we could help.
Like for this one also, most people in government don't understand what's happening in the communities. So we need more people like London and Ridge that go into the government and can help us rather than just people who don't understand what's actually happening. So we need people of color in government to help the people of color. And like what we would change is like some of the consequences that are happening after the police violence is just like they're just dumb. Like nothing's literally happening to them. Once they do something wrong, they'll just be like, all right, pay up, and then you're done. But like I feel like there should be like more reasonable consequences for their actions, other than just like something like a life is not worth money. Like if you take a life, you should serve life.
I think you did.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Summed it all up.
There you go.
Latino violence, who did that?
So one thing we came up with on the Latino violence is that oftentimes we'll have different like cultural Latinos, like for example we have Mexicans and we have Hondurans and we have people from El Salvador, all in like obviously like the same high school, the same like social spaces, and for some reason like there's some tension between that. And so one thing that we should do is like try to remember like our common, like what we have in common, our language. A lot of like our parents came to this country seeking the same dream, so we should always reinforce that and make sure that we see each other as brothers and sisters and not like as something else, like as the other. We should see each other as one instead of dividing. And yeah.
Good, bro. Some solutions is like showing the younger ones, so they could start off like with the like what you said, like not judging like other people, and like getting together with more of their own like raza, and like the dark people too, and like other like races, So I mean, well, that's the best like place to start is like from the little, because like the older people, I don't know, like I think it's too late, but not. But it's more harder como para meter las cosas en la cabeza, like. So I mean, yeah, like that's basically what like we got on here. So like thanks for hearing us out, I guess,
Yeah.
Women against women, Deja, Destiny.
That's all.
Come on. Come on. You had a lot to say earlier. You did really good.
For 1 minute.
I'm stage right. 1 minute. It's 60 seconds.
60 seconds.
Come on.
Destiny picked a lot of these ones up here today. Come on, Jules. Come on, Naz.
I'll make that poster. You could have handled that.
You a partner.
Alright, we did the violence against women, and one thing we talked about is women standing up for other women and holding men accountable for the actions that they do. Paying attention to signs like, say like, if a man hit you once, he's going to hit you again. Don't be afraid to ask for help or scream if something's going on. Don't be afraid to fight female defense. And what's this one? We didn't put this one. I don't know where this one. Distrust, bitch. I'm sorry, y'all. Rape culture, because there's a lot of rape going on nowadays that we don't talk about a lot. So yeah, that's what we did. That's what we came up with.
All right.
So we want to get a picture. If you guys want to come up as a group, we're gonna take a picture. That's cool, Joe?
Thank you guys.